Good evening. You're on the smoking section, and tonight I'm very happy to have Russell Turnquist on. Do I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes.
Turnquist?
Yeah, impeccable.
Impeccable. It's not a common name, and I'm sorry tonight we didn't have our bumper music. Somehow we can't find that. Do you know 1220 South Michigan Avenue?
I don't. Who's that by?
It's by the Rolling Stones. I think it's on their probably their second album, and they were those were the Chess Studios in Chicago.
Yeah.
I think it's 1220 South Michigan
Okay.
Avenue. It's a great instrumental, and I tried to get the permission to use it,
Oh yeah.
and because I figured, well, it wouldn't be that difficult to get because it was never a hit.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think very few people. It's on their second album. It's something they put together, I think, very quickly, and it's very good though.
Yeah.
And and I made some inquiries.
You reached out to the publishers and whatnot.
That kind of thing. Yes, I did, and I think they asked me, well, how much was I willing to pay, and I think I said $100, something like that, because I figure I'm using it for 2 seconds.
Right.
Well, let's say 20 seconds.
Community cable access television.
I'm not using it on Channel 4, NBC, ABC, CBS.
Right.
I figured they'd let me use it, but they didn't. And I mean, they just said that we just can't.
So you went rogue.
No, yes, exactly. I went rogue. I am violating copyright. And
ASCAP's going to be knocking at the door any minute.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I do believe musicians deserve something for their efforts.
I agree. I also think that they're probably okay.
The Stones, you think they're going to make it?
I think they've got a little bit stashed away.
Well, of course, there's lots of other people who depend on this. I mean, because I reached out to a company
Yeah.
that does nothing but contact other companies that own publishing rights and that type of stuff.
Sure.
So you have all of these people who are working and doing that sort of thing. So it's not just the 5 Rolling Stones.
Well, if only we could get some of that advocacy for the local independents who actually really need the money. But that's a whole other
ball of
that's
wax.
That's
a whole other ball.
That's a wormhole.
A wormhole.
That is a wormhole.
Well, Russell, I have been a smokers' rights advocate for about probably more than 20 years.
Sure.
So I've advocated for what I believe are the rights of smokers, the liberty to smoke, and therefore I notice when people smoke.
Sure.
I know who smokes and who doesn't.
You're tracking it all.
I am. I mean, I've noticed that you smoke.
I do. I do. I was not a smoker in my earlier years. A lot of people can become, habitually tobacco users, oftentimes at a younger age.
Yeah.
I would touch upon it here and there, through my late teens and earlier 20s. But then in my later 20s, I became a pretty regular smoker. And there are times where I don't smoke. I'll go through those phases. And I think probably ultimately, hopefully will end up on the non-smoking category myself for just kind of the benefit of, I have a son now.
Yes.
So
right.
I think about these things.
Well, when you say you think about those things, tell me what you think about when you think about these things.
Well, so I mean, this can get into some layered elements, which I know you don't mind. That's the
I
point.
don't.
That's the whole point of why we're on the show.
You're here to talk.
There's a money element.
Oh, I see.
There's
Yes.
definitely a money element.
Right.
And then I think having been someone who grew up doing a lot of athletics,
Yeah.
once smoking became a more regular part of my life, I noticed a decline in some of the athletic performance in my relationship to how I've used tobacco. I think that if you can fall in the moderation category, there's less issue around that. I oftentimes will overdo it in periods of time.
Well, how much? When you say overdo it, what does that mean in terms of tobacco?
I mean, it depends. I guess that depends. But I think if I'm having more than, say, like a half pack of cigarettes in a day. That's an excessive use for me personally.
But that's pretty moderate smoking.
Yeah, I would say, if I'm kind of more in the 3 to 5, 7.
Oh, so you're very, very moderate smoker.
Well, and that's kind of a target range. But I go through periods where, let's say, I'm in a higher stress mode, or I'm in a kind of a very creative writing mode. I might lean on nicotine and caffeine too much, and those are both stimulants.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I don't know. See, the thing about nicotine is that it's both a stimulant and a depressant in the sense that when you want, sometimes it can stimulate you, and sometimes it can relax you.
Serotonin and or dopamine.
Well,
in terms of neurotransmitter relations.
I'll put it that I don't know that well enough. But for example, I have never found cigarettes. If I have a cup of coffee at 8 o'clock at night, I may not be able to sleep.
Sure.
Whereas I can smoke. In fact, the last thing I do regularly is have a cigarette before I go to sleep.
Sure. Yeah.
So
that's not an uncommon practice.
And scientifically, the nicotine is more complex than that. So I don't think it can be put into that category. But continue. Go ahead.
Well, so I think as it pertains to what I find is beneficial versus what I find is a detraction. Well, first of all, I should say I typically will only smoke tobacco that is non-chemically treated.
Yes.
That's important to me. And I oftentimes think about the ritual of smoking as it pertains to where it came from hundreds of years ago. So if you think of like sitting around in like a Native American atmosphere and what that meant to have like a ritual and to share that experience. That's kind of, I think, what the ideal element is. And this can be true of anything beyond smoking, too. If you're utilizing it for something that has some benefit and has a connection to a deeper understanding of self or community, or things beyond self, I think that's beneficial. If you're using it in an escapism way, then that's a detraction.
Well, what happens if you're using it to help you deal, let's say, with anxiety, depression, boredom?
I think, again, I'd go back to the relationship you have around moderation, right? So
I see.
Is it detracting from your ability to get things done, right? So are you so anxious you're taking a smoke break every 20 minutes?
Oh, I see.
Right, and you can't stay in front of the piece of paper or your task at hand, right? Or you're chain smoking because you cannot find calm and peace. You're probably in an avoidance pattern and maybe in a negative feedback loop. But if you're stepping away from those feelings to have some quiet and some space and kind of that ritual, almost like a meditative element.
Do you find that smoking helps you concentrate?
Largely it does. I would say more often than not it does have that benefit to it.
Because I know both you and I are both guitar players.
Yep.
And I know that if I want to practice something and I'm having a hard time getting myself to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's tedious and it might be repetitive.
Sure.
If I have a cigarette lit,
you're able to kind of...
And I can really, or a cigarette, and preferably a cigarette and a coffee at the same time.
See there, the nicotine, caffeine combo.
It helps me really, really concentrate and do something that normally I might put off.
Okay. Sure.
Like, for example, today I had a big achievement with my guitar.
Tell me.
I put on a new string.
Oh.
That's very hard for me to do.
Self-applied new string. That's good.
Because
Hugh McGowan would be proud.
I hate to put new strings on guitars. I mean, it's dull.
Yeah.
Do you find that, is it difficult for you to change the strings?
It's not difficult. I was taught at a pretty young age how to do the typical guitar maintenance and.
Oh, but I can do it. But it's just I will put it off.
I
and
see.
I'll say,
I put it off plenty. Yeah, I put it off.
See, that's the thing. But if I have a coffee and a cigarette,
you're ready to go.
I will get that string on the guitar.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
And it's nice to have new strings on the guitar.
Does
anyone ever change them enough? Do you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of people. Yeah, and I as much as it's nice to have new strings on the guitar, I like it when that initial brand new element of the strings kind of fades off. Ideally for me, if I put new strings on, I actually want a couple days
Yeah,
of
I think
really
probably.
playing into those strings and kind of loosening them up. And sometimes the strings come off when you first put them on; they're very bright.
Yes.
And I typically like to have more of a leveled sound to it. So oftentimes, if I'm playing a show, I actually will not play a guitar that has brand new strings on it. And they also they'll go out of tune more.
Oh, well, that we all know.
Yeah.
But when you said, for example, when you're working on something and you find, well, you have to go out and take a cigarette break,
Sure.
and that will disrupt your momentum, let's say.
Yep.
I mean, you're presupposing that you can't smoke while you're doing it.
Well, that's a good point. And if you're in an indoor environment, as you know, that's typically the case, especially if you're in like an office.
Yes.
Or a library or all these places, right?
But it's only the case in the last, let's say,
15.
No, I'm a little bit more, unfortunately,
20,
a little
20
bit more
years.
than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a lot older than you. So,
Are you?
Yes, I am quite a bit. You could be my son very easily. My grandson, perhaps.
Well,
No, I don't know.
I'm on the back 9 of 38 here, so I mean, I'm not that young. But
Be that as it may. I mean, when I went to college, for example, in many of our classes we could smoke,
oh, sure, yeah,
and in our dorm rooms we could smoke.
sure. And that for me, that was not the case. I went to Franklin Marshall College. I entered it in 1998. There was no smoking in the dorms, no smoking in the classrooms.
Really, God, that's so sad.
And then let's see. It was about, I want to say, the first year I was out of school, they banned smoking in bars and whatnot.
In Pennsylvania?
I think it was Boston and New York first,
Oh.
wasn't it?
Oh,
Was it Boston and New York like some of the first?
I'm trying to think. New York
Was pretty early.
New York banned smoking in bars a little bit after 9/11, so that was 2001.
Oh, so that was when I
about
was-
2002, let's say.
I was in college. Okay.
And
Yeah.
Boston banned smoking in bars later than that.
They did. Okay.
Not much later, but somewhat later. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, okay, so, I mean, for example, when the Stones composed their stuff, when Eric Clapton composed his stuff, I mean, they did a lot of smoking too.
Oh, sure.
While they were in the studio.
In the studio, yeah, the classic kind of Mick Jagger with the guitar and the cigarette and dangling.
And definitely Keith, of course.
Oh yeah. That's what I meant was Keith Richards.
Oh, Keith, yeah.
Yeah, Mick Jagger doesn't.
Well,
really know how
I
to
mean,
play
do you think that the smoking bans have perhaps possibly impeded creativity in terms of the arts?
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. I'd imagine there's an element of that. There must be, right? I mean, because whatever gets an artist into their flow is potentially a useful tool. Again, with the footnote of moderation, I'll say.
Well, I mean, take a look at the Smoky Jazz Bar. I mean, can you have a real jazz bar without smoke?
Oh, I think you can.
You can, really. Everybody can sit there in a kind of antiseptic environment and
Well,
eat carrot sticks and play cool jazz. I mean, do you think that's possible? Or
I think music can be played in any environment, really.
yeah,
And I think what we romanticize about certain environments for listening is different than what actually we're talking about when we're talking about a real performance.
right.
I mean, we could set up a top end jazz group right here while we're sitting as we play, and they will
Right,
rip
but
some jazz.
does tobacco and perhaps maybe even alcohol
It can be an enhancement.
can it enhance? I mean,
I would say so. I mean, that's why do you think these guys had the scene they did and whatnot? I mean, there's a long-standing.
can you eliminate the tobacco and still have that kind of scene? That's the question.
I don't know
I mean,
if it's
that
the
is
same
a
scene.
question.
I think the scene won't be the same, but I think the music and your relationship to it and enjoying it can be as potent in maybe in a slightly different way.
Maybe better. Maybe better.
Maybe better.
I don't know about that. I don't think so. I really, really don't think so. And I mean, do you think, for example, I'm playing around here. Don't pay any
That's
attention
cool.
to me. Do you think, for example, the atmosphere in bars is as convivial as it was when bars were smoky? I mean, did you ever experience a smoky bar?
Oh sure, yeah. I mean, when I first was going to bars regularly, there was smoking in
Plenty of
in
smoke.
bars. Yeah, and is it as convivial? I don't know.
Are people as relaxed, or is it kind of a little bit more uptight scene?
Whew. I mean, I'd say just culturally, from the last 20 years, we've become increasingly more uptight.
Society in general?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so. I mean, so yeah. I guess it's not the same convivial, laid-back nature because we've been stepping away from what the kind of the true pub was.
Oh God, can you have a true pub without tobacco?
Yeah, right. I mean,
I'm asking you. That's
the
a question.
public house, right?
That's
I mean,
a question I'm asking
That's
you.
that's what it was. The public house. You'd come, you'd gather, you'd smoke, you'd have a pint.
Yes.
It was a whole experience. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that you will ever get that same aesthetic in the structure we have today.
The non-smoking structure.
Non-smoking structure, and then just so much of the way we treat establishments. You know, the restrictions we put on them, and the kind of politics around so many places here. I mean, it's a tough business to house.
Have you ever worked in the restaurant business or the bar business?
I have.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I worked at a place called Peter's Poorhouse in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. I went down there spring of 2000, and then I ended up working there part-time through the rest of my college run. I'd come back on weekends and take shifts there.
Oh, because you were working at Franklin and Marshall. I mean, you were studying at Franklin.
Yeah, so I took a semester off in the spring of 2000, and I worked on a trading desk, and then on the weekends I worked at Peter's, particularly Friday nights.
Oh, that's a tough night. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they had a big open beer garden in the summer.
Yeah.
They had this cobblestone street that they shut down, and
Did you enjoy working there?
I did.
Nights?
I did. I mean, it was a hustle. I mean, it was not your typical come on into a bar on a Friday night, because it was an event in the summers. You know, I mean, they shut down the street. They had all sorts of special events outside, and it would be packed. It was like a big beer garden, and we were one of two bars serving hundreds of people out on the cobblestone. So it was high pressure. You're moving.
Did you ever go to the Mount Vernon bar?
Yeah, I actually lived that summer. I subletted an apartment in Mount Vernon, about a block away from Tio Pepe's restaurant.
I know Tio Pepe's.
Yeah?
I've been to Tio Pepe's.
Classic. This is phenomenal.
But Mount Vernon bar isn't near Tio Pepe's, or is it?
It's a little further up, but Tio Pepe's is in Mount Vernon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's near Bolton Hill.
Yeah.
Because when I used to drink, I would go to the Mount Vernon bar, and when I used to drink, you also would be able to smoke there.
Sure.
And I just had some really good times there.
Yeah.
At the Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
Really good times.
Yeah. I had some good
It
times
was
in
a cool
Baltimore
bar.
too.
That was a cool bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a classy bar, but I mean, I would think I don't like the term dive. I really don't like that term, because to me, I don't know. I mean, to me, a bar is supposed. I mean, you can have a classy bar, but to me, a bar is supposed to be kind of. I think what's the word? I don't know. I mean, people would call that a dive, and I
Sure.
don't like that term.
Right.
Because I think,
I feel like it's a derogatory.
Yeah, and I don't want bars to be so spiffy. I mean, I can enjoy a spiffy bar, but I think I don't want it in general. And
You want to feel comfortable.
I want to feel real comfortable.
You don't want the schwanky.
I want it to be smoky. I want the walls to be stained.
Yeah.
I don't want necessarily a perfectly clean bathroom.
Okay.
I mean, I could go to a bar with all that sort of stuff and enjoy
And you'll
it,
be okay.
but I like. Did you ever go to the Plow and Stars?
Oh yeah, down the street here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We my band had a residency there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a pretty
little
good
while
place
ago.
to have a residency.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, they're coming up on 50 years.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2019 will be 50.
Did you
years.
ever go there when you could smoke there?
No.
Oh, you poor thing.
No.
You poor thing.
You gotta realize I was back here. Was when I was working in Boston after college. It was winter of '03.
That you poor thing. Let me ask you two quick questions because we're running out of time.
Oh my gosh. It's flying right by.
Yes, it's flying right by. It's flying right by. We're having a great old time here. It'd be nice if we could smoke, but I'm not going to belabor it. But anyway, maybe we'll get a phone call. You know, we'll get
Look
something.
at that.
Look at that. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
The wonders of modern technology. Did your parents smoke?
My dad smoked very briefly in
briefly,
either college or grad school, one or the other. I can't remember.
So you were
which.
brought up in a non-smoking household.
Absolutely. My
dear.
mom cannot stand
Oh my
the smell
gosh.
of nicotine.
Well, that's
Tobacco.
not tobacco.
Tobacco.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nicotine's a different thing.
Russell, let me just tell you before I want to get this down.
Yeah.
The FDA is proposing to mandate that all cigarettes sold in the United States be denicotinized.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
And I have, they are doing this not because they say that nicotine is poisonous, because even tobacco control advocates say that nicotine is really benign. It's the other tar
Carcinogens and whatnot.
so forth.
Right, right.
They're doing it because they want to wean us all off of tobacco, and they don't want anybody else to start. And I am very opposed to this.
Sure.
And I have made up a card
Mm-hmm.
because the FDA is taking public comments, and I'm asking people to put their name on the card.
Okay.
Would you be willing to do that?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know it or not, but your lovely wife did.
Oh yeah. Well, we're not married, but yes. But my son's mother.
And she seems to be kind of an easy-going type of person.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's great.
Kelly.
We're a fan of Kelly.
Yes.
Yes.
You and your son, you mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, beyond
When you
that,
say we are, who is
well,
we?
I think broadly, a lot of people are.
Oh, yeah. Kelly has been at the 1369 for a long, long time.
This is true.
And we love her there, and I guess she gets along pretty well with Josh and so
Of
forth.
course, they're good people. They're a great community over there.
I like
There's,
it.
yeah,
That's
very
my
supportive of
number
the
one
community.
coffee house. In fact, recently your wife was thinking that I was following her around because I would go to the Central Square branch, and then I would go to the Inman Square branch, and she would be there, and it's like, but I wasn't. It was just coincidence.
That's okay.
Listen, do you want to play a song, and we'll go off?
I'd love to. Yeah, I'll play a song.
Now we only have let's say I don't know how many minutes.
A couple minutes here. I'll play you.
Yeah, don't play every verse. Don't do Desolation Row by Bob Dylan, okay?
Not Tangled Up in Blue.
Oh, I hate that song. You like Tangled Up in Blue?
I don't know.
Then you need to do that if you're gonna do it.
No, I was gonna do a Paul Simon song.
Okay, go right ahead, do it.
Cause I was.
But I may have to cut you off at you see that clock there?
I see it.
Like at 7:26 and 40 seconds. I'd like to.
Well, that's when you want to. Oh, cause it's 7:27. You're right.
Okay.
So, you know what? Then I'll just do. We gotta fit the song in, so I'll do a Beatles song.
Okay, that's nice. They're always great.
Sometimes I play this song for my son. Blackbird sing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings, learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to rise. Blackbird sing in the dead of night. Take these broken eyes, learn to see me. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be right. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light. I'll
you
cut it
did
off there.
beautifully. Man, what a
Yeah,
nice
because you wanted to
transition.
end at.
Russ,
Oh, well.
thank you for coming on, and maybe you'll be on again.
I'd love to. It's a pleasure. Always to support you, my friend.
And